In this episode, I'm going to show you how to get the envelopes technical indicator into your MetaTrader 5 Expert Advisor. You'll be able to use it to build trading bots for days. So come and check it out. There's a few things you need in order to complete this episode. First, it's really helpful if you have a template Expert Advisor ready to go. So that means you've got the init, deinit, and ontick functions. And we'll be using that in order to get our envelopes indicator into our trading bot. Secondly, having a working MetaTrader 5 terminal is super helpful for you to be able to see the results of your labor. The envelopes technical indicator is a really popular technical indicator that a lot of people like to use to get the range of whatever stock or Forex thing they're using. In this episode, I'm going to show you how to use it and to get the upper and lower bands, which will allow you to pass those values into your Expert Advisor. If you've been following on with the larger series on building a really complex trading bot, then this will be super helpful for you. But if you're not, this is still a really useful episode that will just show you how to get that technical indicator into your Expert Advisor and working. Let's go. So you can see on here, here's the envelopes detector that we're going to be looking at today. So you can see here, here's our upper envelope and here's our lower envelope. What we really want to be doing is down in our experts tab, starting to print those values to the screen, because if we can print it, that means that we'll be able to pass it into our algorithm later on. So let's do that. In here, all I've done is I've copied in a really basic starting point for the algorithm. So you can see we've got our onInit, our onDeinit, and our ontick functions. Now, if you're following on in terms of building the overall the overall algorithm that we've been working on, you can absolutely just take the pieces of code that you need. This is just so that you can see what the indicator looks like all by itself. So let's get into it. First of all, we want to kick off our commenting, because we always comment our code to make it easier to use later on. Look at our envelopes indicator. Okay, and we want this to return a double, which means it's going to be returning a number to us. So we'll call this the envelopes indicator. Okay, and it's going to have two variables that it's going to use. It's going to look at the number of candles previous that we want to get, and then it's going to have a look at the string for the type of return that we want. So that can be the upper band or the lower band. Now, as with all MetaTrader indicators, we have to create a buffer to store the values. It is a little bit weird, I acknowledge that. Double envelopes buffer. Okay, then we want to convert it into an array. So we're going to set that as a series. Okay, and that's going to convert this envelopes buffer variable into an array. Next, we want to get the handle for the indicator. Okay, so that's an int or integer. So we go envelopes handle is equal to I envelopes. So I envelopes is the function that we use to get the values. And we wanted to get our current symbol, our current time frame. We want it to get it for the envelopes period. Whoops, envelopes period. Okay, we want it to shift by the number of candles previous. Okay, and we want to use the mode SMA. And we're going to be using our closing price. Now, see this envelopes period, that's actually an input variable which we'll define pretty soon, this one here. Okay, but let's just keep building out the function for now. Okay, I'm going to create a copy variable. Okay, so in envelopes copy. Now what we're going to be doing is something that you probably haven't seen me do before, which is going to create a query variable. Now the reason for this is because candles closed returns a value from 0 to whatever number of candles back that you want to go. But when we actually query the buffer, we actually need the count. So we need to count from 1 to whatever value we want to do. What this means is that whatever value we put in candles previous, we actually want to add 1 to it. So we'll do that now. Okay, so int array query is number of candles previous plus 1. Okay, and then we'll go through and we'll start looking at handling a couple of the errors. So let's do that. Okay, so if the handle is invalid, return 0. So if envelopes handle is equal to invalid handle, we want to return 0. Okay, then if the type is upper, then we want to get the values for the upper band. So here's how we go about doing that. Okay, so we go envelopes copy, which is the variable that we declared up here. And we want to copy the buffer here. So we want envelopes handle. Oops. So look at these values. So we want the indicator handle, the buffer number, the start position, and the count. Okay, so here we go. We've got 0, 0, our array query, which is the candles +1, and our envelopes buffer. Okay. Alternatively, if we want our lower bands, then we need to do this. And you can see here that what we've actually done is we've incremented that by 1. Now, if you try to go to the MetaTrader documentation on this, this is really not obvious. It takes quite a while to figure out. So hopefully that saves you a few hours of figuring things out on this one. Okay. Else, we're just going to return 0 for now because basically it's an invalid value. Okay, let's check that the copy didn't fail. So if the copy didn't fail, we're going to return 0, and then we want to return the value of there, which is the envelopes buffer number. Which is the envelopes buffer with the array value of whatever the candle's previous value was. Okay, so far so good. We can't compile it yet though, because we still need to take care of this envelopes period. Okay, so let's go and take care of that now. Okay, we go up to our inputs, so we're going to create some inputs. And what we're going to do is input int envelopes period. Okay, so that's the value of our envelopes period. Okay, that's good so far, but what you'll probably find here is that there's still something missing, and that value is going to be our deviation. Now, I won't go into the reason for this, but effectively the envelopes indicator is just an EMA that is shifted by a certain number of deviations. So we're just going to add in our envelopes deviation. Okay, and then we're going to go and define that. Double. Okay, save that. Make sure that that's a comma. Pilot. Okay, no issues, no warnings. Okay, let's go to our MetaTrader 5 and start seeing if this is working. So here we have our envelopes indicator. Now we're just going to change this to 7, 0.02. Okay, now in our code, let's just double check for our code what we said that we wanted to go for. Okay, so get the value of our envelopes indicator. Okay, so the previous candle lower. Let's go and see if it's giving us what we're expecting. Okay, so we're getting this value here, 39976.156. Okay, if we go to our previous candle, okay, there we go, 39976.156. Now, if we wanted to get the most recently fully closed candle, we can change our code to this, save it, compile it. Okay, go back to our MetaTrader 5. Okay, and you should see that we're getting this value here. It might be a little bit hard to see it going, but you'll start to see that we're getting the latest value there. So, hopefully you enjoy that, and I'll see you in the next episode where we'll go through the next indicator that we'll be adding to our algorithm. See you there.